Hello, this is Hugo Prévost, and you're listening to SVGA, your PC retro gaming podcast. With me, as always, is Robert Hales. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Hugo.
How are you doing? How are you doing? Yes, I'm gonna try to pronounce English words correctly, please. So, how are you doing, Robert?
Yeah, I'm getting by. I'm a little behind on sleep, but eventually I'll get there.
Yeah, I think it's we both need some more sleep after the election, so we'll try to keep it plain and simple today. As you may have guessed it with the title of the episode that I haven't written yet, but I'm seeing in the future. Today is DLC number 6. And I wanted to talk with you, to discuss with you the topic of game collections. Because we are both, of course, both gamers, of course, PC gamers, and retro gamers too. And I had a few questions for you. First of all, I wanted to know, I mean, I know you have some board games before we cut our video cameras because mysteriously our internet connection is bad today. But before we cut the video image, I said you have some board games behind you. But do you collect video games?
Not physical copies. I mean, I used to have some, but over the years and 4 or 5 moves, they just. Do I really need to put this in a box and carry it around? And so no, I don't really. None of what I had really survived except for the odd, game disc. But other than that, no.
Yeah.
It's all online.
Yeah, it's all digital. I understand what you mean. I mean, I was in your position not so long ago. I mean, I had, when I was young, I remember carrying around, for whatever reason, a CD case with 15, 20 games in it. And don't know why I was carrying it around, because you don't need a game CD when you're outside your house, obviously. But maybe you went to a friend's house or something. And, copy protection wasn't what it is today. You didn't need maybe a CD key, or you carried around the little paper with the CD key on it in the CD case, and you use that again and again and again. And eventually, like you, they all got thrown away. When Steam arrived, I was like, okay, that's the future now. Everything's going to be online. Everything's going to be digital. And eventually, I stumbled upon a YouTuber named LGR. His name is Kling Bassinger. I think I've mentioned it a few times before on this show. And he's basically the one person that made me want to collect games again, especially big boxes. So from the 80s, from the 90s, from the early 2000s. I think they stopped doing big boxes in 2005.
Yeah, I remember getting a small box of Half-Life Opposing Force.
Yeah, so they went from big boxes to smaller boxes, and then DVD cases, and then basically nothing. And so I started to collect again, and to go on eBay, to go to local Village des Valeurs in Montreal. What's the name in English? Value Village?
Value Village. Yeah.
And what they call Renaissance here. And so, and other shops like these. And you could easily find boxed copies of old games for about $3 or $4 each. And it was, for a time, it was a really, really good way to mostly, I think, go back to your roots, in a sense.
Yeah,
because you started to. I started to find games that I used to play back in the day, and just feel to be nostalgic about these days. I found you. It's. I'm sorry to bring this up once again, but I found a box copy of Phantasmagoria, for example. I found box copies of other games that I think some we talked about on this show, some we didn't because they're really, really bad. And And so yeah, so eventually I got a few dozen games like these, and so and yeah, you talked about moving, and it's I mean when I moved in my actual house, my current house, it I needed 6 or 7 boxes, maybe eight,
Oh,
smaller ish boxes, but still a few boxes to just carry what is basically collectibles.
huh.
And
That's a lot to carry around. Now,
it,
do you like
yeah.
with these? Do you go through? Do you read the manuals? Are any of them playable even, or is it
Uh,
just
I think maybe some are playable. Basically, they're developed for Windows 98, Windows 95, sometimes even maybe
right?
earlier operating systems. And there's a whole aspect of retro gaming that is maintaining on machines and getting some what they call new old stock, which is basically new parts but from 20 or 30 years ago, and just having these 90 Windows 95 or Windows 98 PCs or even MS-DOS PCs, and just installing the physical media. But I don't really go through manuals. I mean, I'll open the box and
Right.
I find it cool that everything is in there. There's usually lots of stuff in there. I remember finding a cloth map in an RPG game. And I was thinking, you could never get this today unless you pay $140 for the ultimate premium titanium edition that you had to pre-order 6 months in advance, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's basically just having more stuff. I mean, it's like stamps, I guess. You don't you find it cool that you have some odd stamps that you can collect. You'll never use them really to post something. So I guess it's just accumulating stuff, and maybe that's a problem.
Right.
That's probably a problem, but yeah. But yeah, so eventually I just ran out of space. I mean, I moved in my new place and I bought some new shelves. The whole shebang, a whole system of bookshelves with glass doors and so on and so on, and it just was filled out almost instantly just unpacking these games. And I'm now at a point where I when I see big bucks games, I mean, I don't really see them anymore because there's this craze going on for 2 or 3 years now where everything retro is ultra coveted and ultra pricey online and everywhere else. So I'm not gonna pay $30 for an old PC games that I cannot even play.
Right.
And so it's just to a point where it's just perfectly at the time where I don't have space anymore for this, and so it's well, I have a dozen games, and that's it.
Do you have any favorites that you're like, wow, I can't believe I found this one?
I will need to check because now it's everything's covered by my wonderful
Yeah.
audio dampening
See,
system.
that's the thing our listeners don't know is whenever I see them, they're always covered in your moving mats or whatever they are that keep the sound reflections off.
Yeah, because I don't know if we used to record without this system. I mean, we used to record when there was construction at my old place. That was worse. But when I moved in, I did a few episodes where everything's closed down. So the windows closed down, of course, the door, and the doors in glass too. And then it was for another show, but one of my don't want to say co-anchors, but one of the other person doing this with me said, "Well, it sounds like you're in a cave," and it did. And so I found this system for $30, I think. So two moving mats from Home Depot, just place them over my bookshelves, place them over the door, and that's it. But it's ugly. It's quite ugly. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't get to see the nice things behind it.
I could send you a picture. But yeah, if I have a favorite, I'm saying I'm really glad to have found a full, complete edition of the of Morrowind, which is an RPG game from Bethesda. Elder Scrolls 3, the third in this series. Well, not really the third in this series, that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind with the 2 expansions, with what they call the... they did the same size for Warcraft, they called it the Battle Chest. And so it's basically a longer box in which they can put everything, all the manuals, all the discs, and so on and so on. So I'm quite happy to have found this. I think I have 2 copies of it. And that's a bit, that's one way to see that I do indeed have a problem. But, but yeah,
I'll reserve my judgment.
but yeah, so I do have some favorites. I do have ones that maybe in jewel cases that I'm not as proud. Maybe I have to have found. I got some. I think I have Rebel Assault on diskettes.
I remember that one.
Without any
really horrible game, but very cool.
Yeah, but there was the era of the. Not the full motion video, but the basically it's a movie-ish where you can sometimes make choices, and it's like a whole turret section. The only thing you do is maybe sometimes go right or left and shoot, and that's it.
I also remember it being very difficult, but
I could say, listen, it's just
we're getting down a hole here, but that's an odd one I spent a lot of time with.
It's really far in my memory. Yeah. It's been at least 25 years and more since I've played Rebel Assault, so it's been a while. And so I have a few that I got rid of some of them over the years. I think I had Jar Jar's Math Adventure or something like that. And no, that's Yoda. That's not Jar Jar.
Oh, okay.
So that's. But anyway, something I found at a thrift store, and just like I said, for $3 or $4, and I think it was at the same time that I was collecting typewriters. So you know where I was mentally.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, if you have the play, I think I was living in Verdun at the time, and I just had all the space and more. So we had about 2,400 square feet of space, which is insane. And we have crystal chandeliers, which is also insane. And so for a while we thought about buying a ping pong table for my office, not even for the rest of the apartment, for my office in the apartment. So it tells you about the space that we had to use. But yeah, so I have a few dozens. I also have some joysticks. I bought some old joysticks. I think I've sent you some pictures of these over the time. When I wanted to ask you, since you don't collect big bucks, do you feel like buying digital games is a form of collecting?
No, not in the same way. I mean, for starters, if you're collecting old, like, big box things, there's no guarantee any of that stuff will even work.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I'm buying something digitally, I expect to be able to use it in some way.
Yeah.
One of the annoying things, though, is, especially with older games, is how much, for example, controls weren't something you could change or set. Yeah. They just existed, and you knew how to play the game by going through the manual. And so when we did Wing Commander, for example, which you hated, which, terrible opinion, but that's fine. One of the things that I really didn't like about it was that the controls, you have to look them up, and going through a PDF manual just does not have the same charm, because when you read through these manuals, there's all kinds of lore and explanations of stuff, and it's like, no, just take me to the control page. Like it really loses its charm.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, at least the controls were working. I mean, we could use our modern joysticks
Hmm.
but because it was so simple, and you could not. I think we would have a problem if we tried to play a simulator from maybe the mid 90s,
Oh yeah,
something
it's very
somewhere like that,
difficult.
where
It's extremely difficult.
yeah, and like you said, you could not rebind the controls, and you had to have exactly you have to choose maybe from a list of joysticks
Yeah.
that were available at the time. So it's something you get to a point where exactly there's a not that the game won't be compatible with Windows. It's because usually people from GOG or Steam or wherever take care of this, but it's more like there's a technological gray zone maybe
Hmm.
where you end up, and it's fine to say that, oh, I have a copy of this, but yeah, can you play it? Maybe not, but you got it for $1, so
Yeah. Yeah, there's also that.
but yeah, it's I feel like you. I think that buying a game let me start again. Sorry, digitally. There we go. Uh, it's. I mean, yeah, it's fun to say that. Oh, I own. But let's switch. Maybe talk about modern game. Oh, I own Deathloop, for example, which came out a few weeks ago now. Oh, I own. I don't know. Whatever newest game that came out yesterday or will come out in a week, and I have an advanced copy. But it basically, yeah, it's not. I think since you cannot hold it, it's less because there's always sales, there's always promotion that you can get. Oh, get the entire series of games for $20, and
Hmm.
it's 8 games, 25 DLCs, and blah blah blah. And it's only gonna be a name in a long, very long list on Steam or another platform, and it's yeah, gonna be able to play it, but there's something missing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because it's so obviously, transient. Like you own it, but you own access to it,
Yeah,
a DRM key or whatever that's linked to an account. It's not the same as, getting an old, like I remember for years when I was younger, we had a copy of the game Shuttle, which was like a space shuttle simulator, and it came with this giant poster that was, the size of a wall poster, just showing all the control panels and switches that you basically needed to understand to be able to play this game. And obviously was never really able to effectively play this game, but just to get a thing and then to have a poster showing like these are all your control panels and all your switches,
yeah,
that kind of physical thing. You can do that with a PDF, and I play a lot of simulators, and there's this guy Chuck who does Chuck's Guides. He puts together things that break these things all down, and they're like really well made PDFs, like designed to flip through on an iPad or just on your laptop or whatever you've got beside while you're playing the thing. But it is missing a certain something that that to see it on a big paper object. Yeah,
yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I remember I haven't played as many simulation games as you did, but when I was really into Elite Dangerous, I had you get to a point where there's 2,500 buttons and options and whatever, and so you need something to remember where is what on your joystick because it's not written down on the little button. You have to be able to. Eventually, you get to memorize it, but you need to know how to activate the weapons, for example, or how to get out that damn landing gear that you need to land on on the planet or on the space station. And so lucky enough to have two monitors, and I use the one on the right to just show the PDF where everything is labeled. Everything is specifically labeled for my joystick model, and so on and so on. And so I could refer to it while I was flying or fighting or whatever. But yeah, it's not the same. I mean, it's more useful that way. I think to need to have to go through a physical book. But yeah, in a sense, we're making do with what we have instead of exploring something. I mean, if I buy a game, whatever the name is on whatever platform, and they say, oh, you get some artwork with it, you get some bonuses. I'll never go look at them. I never delve into it. It's always, oh, I'm gonna play the game and that's it. And I don't know if you do that. Do you explore the bonus the bonus content of on the game you buy online?
No, essentially never.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a time I've done it, and no, I really don't think I have.
Yeah, maybe I did that for the soundtrack once or twice, but even
you know what? Even with soundtracks, the only time really that I listen to them is that when you accidentally start them in Steam or something. I'm like, oh shit, how do I turn that off?
Yeah, or if it's really good, I'm gonna listen to it on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. So I'm not gonna really think to go. Oh, I'm gonna go in the game folder and then just try to. And I don't know how it works on Steam, but I know that with GOG you can download everything at once, or you can download only the extras if you want. But I'm not gonna wait to install a 15 gigabytes game just to listen to the music if I need to do that. So it's once again, you get more stuff, but do you really need more stuff? And that's our capitalistic podcast for today, friend. Although that's not. No, but yeah, it's something. I think when there was, and going back to big boxes and stuff like that, when there was big boxes, I think it was because the developers could not necessarily fit everything on the CD or even more on the diskette, and then they had to rely on imagination first, and like I said, some maps and manuals from the real world to compensate the deficiencies of the in-game universe. And then when they moved to games on CD or DVD, suddenly you had all this, and even more online, you have all the space that you'll ever need. Even for something like Warzone, how big is it now? It's 250 gigs or more?
Easily, yeah. I couldn't tell you at the moment because my PC is powered down, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
But it's not for manuals; it's for sound clips and textures. And whatever. But yeah,
mostly textures. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think there was a specific point where some of the magic was lost. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm trying too hard to find something in this.
To some extent, I mean, now games are able to be like a lot more cinematic, and build the lore and the background and stuff into the game, where before, you were just kind of dropped into them because, limits of technology, and so there were things around it that you needed to kind of build up all that stuff, and now it's just in the game.
Yeah, but I
think, is mostly positive, but it, there's downsides.
Maybe there's the idea that you got more bang for your buck at the time, because now today, of course you get this, like you said, cinematic game that's gonna last for maybe 15, 20, 25 hours, even more if you're playing an RPG, for example. But at the time, maybe the RPG also lasted 40, 50, 60 hours. And then you got a manual, and then you got a map, and then you got trinkets or whatever. And now you're going to pay more, not with inflation, but you're going to pay more in, is it called absolute value? Anyway, you're going to pay more in your head maybe for a game there won't be this more stuff as it was a few decades back. But
yeah, but now you can spend all your money on skins and
yeah. Did you? Because, like you said, you got rid of your boxes. I mean, which is okay, which is what I did for a while, and then LGR just grabbed me back in. But did you transfer this? Were you interested enough in collecting that you transferred this to I don't know, books, board games, or something else?
I mean, no, not really. I think the reason I have so many books is different. Because I think for the most part, I think I have a lot of books. Too many to actually fit in my apartment. They're in a box in the basement in my apartment building right now. Well, several boxes that we don't need to go into the whole details, but there's a lot. But the buying of books is different because I prefer reading a book to reading it on my Kobo. Like in the same way that, I find a digital book feels even sort of, I'm less attached to it than even a digitally bought video game.
Yeah.
And I find the sort of, for whatever reason, I read books more completely when, I have the physical book. I don't know what it is. But yeah. I don't think, at least as far as I've thought about it, I don't think the two are really, really connected.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand. I mean, it's same thing for me. I have an e-reader. It was a gift from my SO, and I was really happy about it at the time, and I still use it today. But I won't spend nearly as much time reading on this than I spend on reading physical books. And yeah, comparing this to video games, I mean, you can take a book from 200 years ago, and you're still going to be, 500 years ago, if you can read Latin, for example, or something else, but you can still read it. It's still usable in a way. And if you take a game from 10 years ago, maybe you have driver issues, maybe you have compatibility issues, maybe the servers will be down and you won't be able to play it. Of course, a game is not the same as a book, but as an object of, I don't want to say distraction, but as an object of leisure, maybe, it's completely different. But yeah, it's a whole other topic. But yeah, I think it's I told you that I collected board games too, and maybe at one point, once again, it's more about filling a hole or a void or whatever else it is. But and then I got to a point where once again I run out of space or just time to play them. It's like video games. I have, I don't know how, maybe 100 games on Steam because I bought lots of them on sale, or I got some codes for a review on Piev and so on and so on. But I just end up with hundreds of games that I'll never play because there's always new stuff coming out, and it's just lines on a list. It's like books. Books eventually I run out of space once again, and so I have to get rid of some books. But it's again and again, it's there's this new thing that you have to read, and it's going to take you 10, 15, 20 hours. And in that same time, you won't be able to read this or that, or you won't be able to play this or that. And eventually, it's just a race for your off time. Basically, that's what it is. So yeah, it's a point where we just buy stuff, and then we don't buy stuff anymore, and then you buy a house and you fill it with more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is getting quite
A little philosophical.
yeah.
Maybe we should leave it there before we start discussing, the nature of existence.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Oh, I have to. Oh, that's what. That was quite funny. Just and we're gonna end it on this, but my sister regularly sends me pictures of her two daughters, and the oldest is 4 now, and she's starting to read. So she's starting to at least she tries to, and she knows some letters, and there's a place, public, but not a public library, but the boxes when you can give books and take some out too, and then she took one, and my sister sent me a picture, and she was recognizing some of the letters in the book and pronouncing them, which was super cute. I was really proud as an uncle, and so on and so on. And then I saw that the book was by Kundera, and I was like, okay, that's a bit too much for a 4-year-old. But anyway, I think that's it for our DLC. I hope you had as fun listening to it as we had fun talking about it, and maybe I'll send you some. Maybe I'll put on some pictures of my some parts of my collection on the on social media, so that everyone that's listening right now can also see the extent of my don't want to say problem, but my passion maybe. And anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, problem passion. It's a very fine line.
They both start with a P. I think that's what we're trying to say. Yeah. Thank you very much, Robert, for being here today with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And everyone listening right now, of course, thank you to you too. You can catch up on all previous DLCs and our previous episodes. And yeah, we are going to produce another episode soon. I just have to get back into the grind, as they say, and just try my hand at. Did we mention what was the next game? What the next game was already?
I don't know. It's worth repeating.
Yeah,
it's one I'm looking forward to.
Could you tell us the name of the next game, Robert?
We will be playing IL-2 Sturmovik 1946, which is the original game, and then a bunch of add-ons that eventually got tacked onto it. Yeah, so it's a fun one. I really enjoy it.
I am looking forward to play it. Just have, like we said in the beginning, we had an election here, and we all have lives and so on and so on. So everything is getting a bit backed up, but we'll get to this soon, I hope. And until next time, so everyone, once again, thank you. If you want to support us, there's a new system, because I got rid of the old way, which was complicated, and just have to go on PF.ca. There's a whole wonderful PayPal logo. Just click on this, and you'll be taken to a page where you can give us a donation if you want to support the podcast or the website in general. And if you want to subscribe, if you're not subscribed already to our podcast, you can go on Apple Podcast. We are also on Spotify, Google Podcast, and of course, Balado Québec, who is our host. So thank you once again, and until next time.
Until next time.